I can still recall the precise phrasing my mother employed when I inquired if I might accompany them to the annual Sterling family ball. "Oh, David, there's truly no advantage in presenting you to everyone. You're just so unremarkable." She didn't even glance up from her luxury clutch as she brushed me aside, fumbling for her car keys. My father, positioned near the doorway in his impeccably cut tuxedo, merely offered a shrug. "Your mother has a point. These are prominent individuals. How would we even present you?" I was 29 years old and had not once been invited to a family event beyond our core family unit. Not extended family celebrations, not festive assemblies with distant relatives, not corporate dinners, absolutely nothing. In their estimation, I simply wasn't an asset worth showcasing. My elder sister, Olivia, was the shining star, Yale Law, wedded to a neurosurgeon with an immaculate residence in an affluent suburb. My younger brother, Ethan, was the household genius, a tech visionary, gracing business publications by the age of 24. And then there was myself, David Sterling, a City College alumnus, employed as a network defense specialist for a respectable firm. No prestigious designation, no sprawling estate, merely a pleasant apartment and a career I found truly engaging. "We just don't want you to feel awkward," my mother interjected with well-rehearsed concern, though her gaze remained frigid. "Everyone attending has achieved something noteworthy." My father consulted his timepiece with evident impatience. "The Armstrongs will be highlighting their son's recent judicial confirmation. The Bakers are commemorating their daughter's gallery debut in London. What could we possibly say about you? This is David. He deals with computers." They chuckled in unison, a private jest at my own detriment. I remained there in their pristine entrance hall, abruptly feeling like an adolescent once more despite approaching my 30s. Unseen, insufficient, undesired. "Perhaps by next year, you'll have an accomplishment worth sharing," my mother remarked, patting my cheek as if I were a source of her disappointment. "Concentrate on securing a promotion or finding a noteworthy romantic partner." They abandoned me there in their flawless home with its flawless decor and family portraits that, somehow, never featured me in any significant way. As their premium saloon drove off, I grasped with stark certainty that after nearly 3 decades, I was still awaiting their validation of my worth. That particular evening was set to alter the course of everything. Not because I resolved to finally challenge them, but because within 96 hours my image would indeed be broadcast across the nightly news, just not for any reasons any of us could have foreseen. Growing up as the middle sibling in the Sterling household meant dwelling in a constant state of obscurity. My parents weren't malevolent in the typical understanding. I was always provided for with sustenance, attire, and schooling. What they denied me was far more detrimental: their endorsement. From my earliest recollections, I was the secondary consideration. The artwork I created in primary school never earned a spot on the family refrigerator. My high school commencement was attended with palpable duty rather than genuine pride. When I shared news of my university acceptance, my father's remark was, "Well, at least they're offering you a partial bursary." My existence had been molded by their unending disapproval. I adapted by making myself inconspicuous, by anticipating nothing, by seeking affirmation from other sources. I cultivated friendships with individuals who genuinely appreciated me, and dated companions who looked beyond my family's disregard. I fashioned a life about which they were entirely ignorant because they had never shown an interest in inquiring. What my parents were unaware of, what they had never bothered to explore, was that my unremarkable position in network defense wasn't quite so unremarkable. I had focused on advanced persistent threat analysis and digital investigation. My unit managed highly confidential agreements, including several with governmental bodies. I wasn't merely dealing with computers. I was safeguarding critical systems and exposing complex incursions that had the potential to jeopardize national welfare. But I had ceased attempting to convey this years prior when my father interrupted me during a holiday meal to inquire about my brother's most recent investment success. The dynamic was too deeply ingrained to alter. David was the expendable offspring, the ordinary one, the interim between the barrister and the innovator. After so many years, I'd cultivated a degree of emotional resilience to their indifference. I'd navigated the predictable stages: fervent efforts to gain their approval, defiant outbursts, silent bitterness. By 29, I'd arrived at a state resembling acceptance. I had a fulfilling life in spite of them, not because of them, or so I believed. Yet, Something about that dismissal in their entrance hall, that nonchalant harshness delivered without a moment's hesitation, reopened injuries I had thought were long healed. As I journeyed back to my flat that evening, an increasing sense of disquietude was unshakable. Not solely concerning my rapport with my parents, but also regarding certain anomalies I had recently observed in my professional sphere. Minor irregularities in network activity, peculiar access attempts, tiny discrepancies most would overlook, but which were conspicuous to someone who had dedicated years to discerning the unusual amidst the usual. Perhaps being unremarkable offered its own benefits after all. Nobody suspected the ordinary individual. Nobody scrutinized the unseen man too intently. As I entered my apartment building, my mobile vibrated with a message from my superior. Need you in the office tomorrow. Saturday emergency measures. Level 4. Level 4 signified a critical situation. Level 4 meant every available person was required. I responded instantly. I'll be there 8 a.m. The reply arrived mere seconds later. Sooner, if feasible. Something significant is unfolding. I observed my own image in the car's rearview mirror. Unremarkable, ordinary, unseen, perfect for what was about to happen. The Monday preceding the ball incident, I detected something peculiar while conducting standard security audits. A pattern of data leakage so refined it was almost undetectable. The architect of this scheme was exceptionally skilled. It mimicked standard network flow almost flawlessly, generating just enough statistical interference to remain hidden in plain view. Almost flawlessly, but not entirely. I'd reported it to my direct manager, Sarah, who had deemed it serious enough to approve more intensive surveillance. Let's keep this confidential for the moment, she had instructed. If it's what we fear, we must proceed with extreme caution. What we feared was an internal compromise. Someone within our client's establishment intentionally siphoning classified materials. Given that our client was an aerospace and defense corporation with access to critical military hardware designs, this was not merely industrial espionage. It was potential high treason. By Wednesday, I'd isolated the origin to a particular division. By Thursday, to a small group of potential users. I toiled late into the evenings, meticulously constructing the evidence, ensuring every detail was examined. This type of inquiry demanded perseverance, accuracy, and prudence, qualities my family might deem unexciting, but which were indispensable for national security. Friday morning, the very day of my parents' dismissal, I uncovered something that sent a chill down my spine. The data wasn't just being siphoned. It was being consolidated and readied for an imminent transfer to an external server with established links to foreign intelligence services. I had promptly informed Sarah, who then escalated the matter to the highest echelons of our security division and the client's chief information security officer. Nobody knew precisely when the transfer would occur, but the preparations indicated it was very soon. Then came my parents' sharp criticisms, the family ball I wasn't deemed worthy to grace, and ultimately, the emergency summons from my boss. Saturday morning dawned with overcast skies and an atmosphere of apprehension. I arrived at the office by 6 a.m. to find it already abuzz with intense activity. Sarah met me at the secure entry, her usually calm demeanor taut with worry. It's escalated, she stated without preliminary remarks as we strode rapidly to the secure command center. They're transferring the data at this moment. The Federal Bureau has been alerted, but they require us to monitor and log everything as it happens. The command center was in full-blown emergency operation. Monitors displayed intricate network schematics, lines of code scrolled swiftly across screens, and serious-faced colleagues labored with unwavering concentration. Our client's security personnel were connected via a secure video conference, alongside several individuals in formal attire whom I identified as federal operatives. David, Sarah declared to the room. He's the one who detected it. Instantly, all attention was fixed on me. The unseen, unremarkable, ordinary David Sterling. The room fell into a brief hush. Brief us on the situation, one of the operatives instructed. For the subsequent 5 hours, I guided the response unit through the evidence I had compiled, coordinated tracking efforts as the breach progressed, and assisted in pinpointing the perpetrator with undeniable certainty. By mid-morning, we possessed all necessary information for an apprehension. The insider was Gregory Finch, Senior Vice President of Innovation and Strategy at our client's company. A highly regarded figure in the industry, a decorated ex-military officer, and, as it turned out, my parents' neighbor and a frequent attendee at their social functions, including the ball I had been considered too unremarkable to attend. The FBI acted swiftly. They apprehended Finch unobtrusively yet effectively, right during the charity champagne service segment of my parents' exclusive weekend ball. I wasn't present to witness it, naturally. I was still at the command center, assisting with system security and evaluating the extent of the breach, but I later learned that it generated considerable commotion when federal agents in operational gear disrupted the festivities. By Sunday morning, the narrative had exploded into the public domain. A significant espionage investigation involving military-grade technology, a respected executive living a clandestine existence, the thwarting of what authorities termed a grave compromise of national security. And there, featured on every major network's morning broadcast, was my name, David Sterling, the network defense specialist who had exposed the conspiracy. By Sunday evening, media vehicles were stationed outside my apartment building. By Monday morning, my phone was inundated with interview requests. The unremarkable sun had abruptly become exceptionally visible. The initial call from my parents arrived Sunday afternoon while I was still engaged with case documentation at the office. I let it proceed to voicemail. The second, third, and fourth calls met the same fate. My mother's messages grew progressively more agitated. "David, my dear, phone us back at once. Everyone is discussing you. The Pattersons requested your contact details. Governor Hayes wishes to invite you to a dinner next week. David, this is crucial." My father's voicemail was more straightforward. "Son, I always recognized your capabilities. We must confer on how to manage all this publicity appropriately. Call me back without delay. I can have our family's media consultant prepare a release." Family media consultant? Naturally, they had one. And naturally, now that I was suddenly of consequence, they were keen to associate with me. I switched off my phone and concentrated on completing my tasks, the genuine work that truly held significance. By Tuesday morning, the complete scope of Finch's treachery had surfaced. He had been illicitly selling sensitive data for years, jeopardizing projects valued in the trillions and potentially putting military lives at risk. The technology he was on the verge of transferring pertained to advanced defense platforms. I had prevented him, unremarkable, ordinary me. When I finally departed the office Tuesday evening, Sarah drew me aside. "There's someone here to meet you," she mentioned, gesturing towards the reception area. "A government representative. Says it's vital." The woman awaiting me was in her late 50s, with keen eyes and a direct, businesslike manner. She identified herself as Director Evans from an agency she didn't name. "Mr. Sterling," she began, "your efforts have greatly impressed numerous influential individuals. We would like to extend an offer of a position within our agency. The sort of role that doesn't come with public acclaim but involves considerable accountability." A peculiar sense of tranquility enveloped me. "The sort of role that's classified?" she affirmed with a single nod. "You would need to withdraw from public attention quite rapidly. We can facilitate that. The media frenzy will subside if you cease to interact." I considered it for precisely 5 seconds. "When do I commence?" "At once," she replied, handing me a secure communications device. "Your initial briefing is scheduled for tomorrow morning." I nodded, already comprehending the implications. No celebrity, no public acknowledgement, a reversion to obscurity, but on my own conditions, performing work that genuinely mattered. As Director Evans prepared to depart, she hesitated. "One additional matter, Mr. Sterling. Several reporters have indicated attempts to reach your family for comments about you. Do you foresee any issues from that direction?" I offered a faint smile. "No issues, Director. My family and I are not especially close." She observed me for a moment, then nodded once more. "Excellent. Occasionally, a degree of detachment from personal ties proves advantageous in our profession." I grasped the underlying message perfectly. On Wednesday evening, exactly 6 days after being informed I was too unremarkable to be introduced to their social sphere, I finally responded to my parents' calls. "David, at last." My mother's voice was effervescent with exhilaration. "We've been attempting to contact you for days. Everyone is talking about you. The Davies want you at their dinner engagement next week. And the Pattersons' daughter. You recall Chloe? Yale Medical School. She specifically inquired about you." I allowed her to chatter for nearly a minute about all the social prospects suddenly open to them, due to my recent prominence. "Mom," I interjected at last, "I'm relocating. New position. Highly confidential. I won't be free for dinners, functions, or media appearances." A pause on the other end. Then, with disbelief, "What are you implying? You can't simply vanish now. Do you realize what opportunities are presenting themselves for this family? Your father has already highlighted your achievement to the board at his firm. We're organizing a celebration in your honor next weekend." "A celebration?" I echoed, my tone devoid of emotion. "For your unremarkable son who deals with computers?" Another silence, more protracted this time. "David," my father's voice now, having evidently taken the receiver, "don't act immaturely. This is your prime opportunity. You must leverage it correctly with our counsel." "I don't require your counsel," I interjected softly. "I never did. That's what you failed to grasp. Now, see here. No, you listen for a change." My voice remained steady, composed. "I have no interest in your social engagements, your endorsement, or your abruptly convenient sense of pride. I am accepting a role that is significant, performing work I am passionate about, work I have consistently done, whether you acknowledged it or not. But I will not be present at your celebration. I will not be accepting calls from your acquaintances. As far as you are concerned, I have reverted to being unseen. The distinction is, this time it is my decision." I could hear them both objecting, their voices merging in frantic endeavors to reassert authority over the circumstances, to preserve their connection to their newly valuable son. I simply disconnected the call. Then I blocked their contact numbers. My new existence commenced the following day. I relocated to another part of the country, to an unrevealed site, underwent rigorous preparation, and vanished from the public sphere. The media focus diminished swiftly, as Director Evans had foreseen, supplanted by the subsequent controversy, the next fleeting excitement. As for Gregory Finch, he was handed a substantial term of imprisonment. The Sterling family ball gained notoriety for a vastly different cause than my parents had envisioned. Their societal prestige suffered a considerable blow when their intimate ties with a convicted traitor were exposed. I learned through ex-colleagues that my parents attempted to capitalize on their hero son for months thereafter, asserting privileged knowledge of classified activities and exclusive access to me, proved ineffective. The social echelons they esteemed so greatly possess minimal tolerance for blatant falsehoods. It has been 4 years now. I have established a new life, cultivated new bonds with individuals who perceive me for my true self. My work is demanding, influential, and yes, predominantly unseen by the general populace. I have never again graced a Sterling family event. I surmise I never shall. My sister made a tentative approach once, and we sustained sporadic communication. My brother dispatched a concise congratulatory message after the news became public, then silence. My parents persisted with various numbers for months before eventually ceasing their efforts. At times, I reflect on that evening in their entrance hall, on the casual disregard they had shown throughout my life, never conceiving it might one day hold significance. I question if they have gleaned any lessons from the events. I am skeptical. Being unremarkable imparted a valuable lesson to me. Genuine value is not gauged by societal standing or familial endorsement. Sometimes the most critical endeavors occur in obscurity, without recognition or fanfare. Sometimes the most influential position is to be misjudged. And sometimes the individual everyone dismisses is the sole person who discerns what truly holds importance. If you've ever been made to feel unseen or lacking by those who ought to cherish you most, hold this thought: your value is not contingent upon their acknowledgement. The very traits others overlook might be precisely what renders you extraordinary in ways they will never comprehend. Click that subscribe icon if you desire further narratives about justice, vindication, and the influence of being underestimated. The truth invariably emerges in due course.